What is going on, DSA family, and welcome back to the Cozy Club, my friends. We have 7 powerful legendaries within the game. And in all honesty, legendaries take a ton of resources, time, gear, gold, runes, commitment, the entire thing. And if you invest in the wrong one, you're setting yourself back majorly. So that brings us to today's video, where we're going to be ranking every single legendary within the game with 4 major factors. We're going to be looking at raid viability, PvP viability, future proofing, how good is the legendary going to be in the future, and most importantly, the value of the legendary. Who do you have to invest in? Are they going to be good characters that you're going to use? A lot of major points here. This is not a power contest, but more importantly, who is the best legendary to farm for what it takes? And I think, Cozy Club, the end results are really going to shock you. We're going to base them on all these values, but hopefully it makes your farming journey way more clear and concise. You know exactly who to go for and obviously get the best bang for your buck. Let's go ahead and jump into today's video. I want to thank you guys that participated in the large Twitch stream that we had, going through all the values and data on these rankings. We're not just simply looking at who's the best legendary, because if one takes so many resources, it might not be the best option. And frankly, that's what tier lists are for. Now, like I said before, looking at how well they do in the raids and PvP, it's important. But we're going to be looking at 2 other major aspects in today's video. One, the future proofing. Again, how good are these characters going to be in 6 months, a year from now? Are their kits going to hold up, and is it worth that farm? And number 2, we're going to look at how much gear and the value of the characters, how much you're going to use these characters that you actually have to farm and, gear up. When are you going to use them? How are you going to use them? Are they worthless, or are they going to be great for the other game modes? Because every decision you make is vitally important. So with all that being said, Cozy Club, let's go ahead and start ranking the legendaries in order of when they were released. You guys are going to be shocked. Here we go. Starting off with the Ice Queen, Elsa. She's been in the game the longest, and she definitely had a drought in viability. Looking at PvP versus the raids, she's going to be pretty solid in PvP throughout the journey. She's got about an 8 out of 10 within that PvP scale. Pretty solid of a character, and she can definitely hold her own within the battlefield. Now, if you're early in the game or you're in the mid game, she's by far one of the biggest difference makers within PvP or going through the Towers of Endurance. She's frankly just way better than anyone you'll unlock early on, and she can quickly get you through those game modes. Now, towards the end and kind of the top end of the meta, she lands around an 8 or 9 out of 10. We're going to give her an 8 for PvP effectiveness. And looking at the raids, I think it's going to surprise you. Just flat out, guys, Elsa is absolutely a banger when it comes to the raids. We're mainly looking at the Siege on Olympus raid, as the Forbidden Depths is pretty easy to handle. And we're going to give Elsa a flat 10 out of 10 when it comes to the Siege on Olympus. She is great with every Titan, supplying that silence against the Twisters, or being amazing against the Ice Titans. We made a great video on that if you want to go check up above. And versus the Rock Titans, you're looking at north of 600,000 damage with the Frozen team. Elsa can survive damage well past Empowered and is an amazing character. Now, looking towards more of the value of the characters, this is where Elsa gets a very high grade of a 9 out of 10. You see, Elsa came out towards the beginning of DSA when the requirements weren't crazy at all. All of the characters do not need any gear-specific requirements. You simply just have to farm them up to 7 stars. You got yourself a 7-star Elsa, which is major when you look and compare that to the other legendaries. So basically, resource-wise, you don't have to invest a whole lot within her. And if you look at the characters, you're getting a Sorcerer's Chosen in Olaf, Anna, who's a great support and a kingdom character that you'll use throughout your journey. And then you get Kristoff and Sven, who aren't great characters, but you don't have to put the resources within them. And they're both wild, which is going to help you throughout your journey. And then lastly, looking at a 9 total for her future proofing, Elsa scales up with helpful effects. And if we look at Zeus and his leadership and what the meta and things look like in the future, Elsa's going to maintain her value with a 9 out of 10. Now, if you combine all of those scores together out of a possible of maximum 40 points, we're going to be giving Elsa a very high score of 36 out of 40. Simply, the value of characters and her efficiency in PvP and the raids cannot be ignored. Elsa is simply amazing. She had a rough drought for a while, but she's definitely one of the best nowadays. Moving on to the love of my life, the mascot pretty much of the channel. He's sitting right here with a beautiful smile on his face. Baymax is going to be the next character we're going to talk about. Let's go ahead and start with PvP in Raid Viability. Now, Baymax, close your ears, for a long time was an amazing character. In fact, for about a year, but nowadays, guys, he's definitely going to struggle. Baymax was once the cream of the crop when it came to tanks in PvP, but nowadays about a 6.5 is what we're going to give him out of 10 in PvP, as the auto taunt is simply not as great as it used to be, and frankly, there are a lot of ways to deal with him now. The mass cleanse and all of the great things he used to bring, better character kits came out for it, and simply he's not going to be used as much, and he's not as much as an intimidation threat on the field, so 6.5 out of 10 is his PvP. While looking at the siege on Olympus, he's definitely someone that I'm not always, well, you know, I better save Baymax for this team because he's so great. He's pretty solid. We're going to give him about a 7 out of 10 for the raid viability, as he's a good cleanser. He can heal okay, but outside of that, he's a big white, well, red bullet sponge that takes a lot of hits and a lot of damage, but that's about where his viability ends. Now, it's pretty crazy. If you were to tell me this like last year, the value of characters as well is dramatically changed over the course of a year. Hero Hamada and the entire Big Hero 6 gang once used to be the no question farm them as soon as possible, and now they have dramatically fell off. You have downtown heroes that don't check any boxes for requirements. The tech faction is very lackluster, and you're not even getting yourself a very solid raid team with minimal scoring. Not to say you can't get decent scores at the siege on Olympus, but they definitely are not going to hold a candle to what a lot of the other characters can do. Guys, Go-Go, Wasabi, Hero Hamada, gone are the days of speed kind of just reigning the arena by itself. We're definitely going to have to give them and the entire Big Hero 6 cast a 5 of total value. Now, the reason they get a 5 is, well, you're not going to be using these characters much, but you only need to gear them up to gear 6, which isn't the worst thing, and a lot of them are available early on. You're just not going to be using them a lot, and these characters are going to kind of sit on the bench. Now, if we look at future-proofing for Baymax, this is where he's going to suffer the most. Once being the only auto-taunting tank in the game, it's just not going to last. If you look at 8 months in the future, he's already kind of declining now, and when you look towards April or even in the summer of next year, I don't see Baymax being a part of the meta, and he's going to take a major hit, only scoring a 5 out of 10 here. So he's getting a 5 in value, a 6.5 in PvP, a 7 in raids, and a 5 in future proofing, netting him as an average of 24 points overall. Comparing that to someone like Elsa, it hurts. And look, Cozy Club, sunken fallacy exists. If you're watching this video, there's a good odds, a good chance you've got a big time maxed out Baymax and you enjoyed him for a year, but he's just not there anymore. Now let's go ahead and move on to our next legendary release in the Beast. It came out during the Thanksgiving time last year. Beast is known as one of the best characters in PvP, and so we can cut it short and sweet. He's getting a 10 out of 10 for his PvP viability. Now, while within the raids, it's not going to be quite a 10 out of 10. Beast used to be one of the best within the raids, and now he's not on every team, and he doesn't do everything you're looking for. Beast does pretty good damage. Man, he can survive a while. We're going to give him an 8 out of 10 for raid viability. A great option, not amazing, not terrible, kind of right in the higher end, which brings us to value of characters. Beast, this is where he's probably going to suffer the most, or so you think. What I like to do with value of investing in these characters is a multitude of things. First of all, Beast was one of the first legendaries, and so not a huge gear investment. we like to start everybody with a 10 out of 10, and then we look at the characters and we kind of knock it down. So if we put them at a 10 out of 10, we're going to start with Cogsworth and Lumiere. Terrible characters. You're not going to use them. And if you can use Lumiere, it's very niche and he's not going to fit in a lot of teams. That'll take him down to about like a 4, right? Maybe a 3 in value because they are trash characters. However, if you look at Mrs. Potts, she is utilized for Maleficent later on, which we'll get to. So not the worst investment, as you'll be using her for Maleficent. Whereas if we look at maybe someone like Maurice, definitely a fun character, not the worst in the game. We'll pump him out to about a 4 now. And then lastly, we have Belle. Belle is simply like just as good as Beast. Belle is so good, she's going to take that 4 to a 6. So you look at the Beauty and the Beast characters and you look at what you need to invest, the overall gear and the overall characters. There might be some dumpster fire choices, but all in all, we're going to give them a 6 as value of characters isn't as bad as you might be led to believe. And lastly, we've got future proofing. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the passive to Beast. You guys can see right here, Master of the Castle. This is all you need to know about future proofing. This is a turn-based game and a character that gains all the turn meter that other characters are gaining is 100% most likely out of the entire list the most future-proof character. There's never going to be a time where this just doesn't matter. And so Beast is going to be a great value pick there, netting him a perfect 10 out of 10. Looking at his overall score, he's getting a 34, getting a 6 in value on characters. I'm looking at my sheet right here. We have a 10 for PvP, an 8 for raids, and a 10 for future proofing. Now, shortly after Beast came Mickey Theodore Mouse, the poster boy of Disney. Let's see how he ranks in comparison to the other characters. Mickey Mouse is definitely a complicated one, without question. When it comes to PvP, I think Mickey's days aren't limited or numbered, but he's not the greatest choice. Maleficent kind of outshines the role that he does, and he definitely is a distraction. He just simply is being outclassed by some of the other characters, and overall, when asking a large amount of the community, we gave him a 6 out of 10. However, we're giving him an 8 out of 10 as he is used in virtually every single run that I do against the Titans. Pair him up with either Sensational 6 or with Triton for some amazing healing. Mickey's absolutely amazing within the Siege on Olympus, and simply put, he gets an 8 out of 10. Pretty solid raid character. Now value of characters. This is interesting, right? Because you've got some really dumpster characters. We'll start them out at a 10 again. We've got a 10 out of 10. You got a Pluto and a Goofy that put them way down on the list. Not great characters. Goofy is getting a little better over time. Pluto is completely outclassed. But you have Minnie, who's pretty good, and Donald and Daisy. Flat out being honest, Donald and Daisy pretty much save Mickey Mouse's value, giving him much more of a higher number, giving him a total of 7 out of 10. It is just well worth it putting the gear into these characters. You can unlock their tokens via different events, and it's not a huge grind to get them. A 7 out of 10 is not too shabby. However, where Mickey truly kind of falls is his future proofing. My friends, Maleficent kind of nuked his overall leadership viability, and even if you look at future game modes that are going to come out, it's tough to see a future where Mickey Theodore Mouse is going to be that great. First of all, the Sensational 6 have all been released, and I don't see them getting a kit adjustment anytime soon. It's going to be tough. And overall, we had to give him a 5 out of 10 on the ranking of future proofing, netting Mickey Mouse a total score of 26 across the board. Overall, he's kind of middle of the pack when you look at everything involved. Hercules. He's amazing. Let's save some time. Let's go to the next one. Just kidding. Let's go ahead and look at his values. Obviously, guys, Hercules is a 10 out of 10 in PvP. I don't care if you're trying to be cool and say Herc is not great anymore. Herc is simply still one of the best flat-out PvP characters in the game. Even before the arrival of Zeus's all-powerful kit, Hercules is just pretty much, you can win without even paying attention. Still a very good character, and if you want to be in the few that, want to be cool and say it's a 9 out of 10, he is now a 10 out of 10 in PvP. No question with Zeus. And if you look at his raid viability, he's pretty dang good. He's not the best of the best. We're not going to give him a perfect score, but he can net you consistent in power runs, having him at total an 8 out of 10. Which brings us to the value of his characters. This one was a bit more complicated. You get some great mythicals, Pain and Panic. You get some really good characters here. You only have to take them up to gear 6, which is massive. However, the big thing to note here, guys, is Zeus is going to restore all these characters some great value. We got to give him a flat out 8 out of 10 here. Very good characters overall. You're not going to be using them in every game mode and not even with the entire Hercules team, but you won't be mad about investing into these characters as Hercules is bonkers. And overall, these characters just soup them up to make them all the way better. And when the year is 2035 and you have Zeus unlocked at a full max degree, most of you that is, he'll be even better, which obviously is going to score him a 10 out of 10 for future proofing. Because of the arrival of Zeus, Hercules is an extremely safe investment, and that's going to tie him with Elsa as a 36 score, tying them both at the top currently. Next up on the list, we have 2 left, is going to be Wreck-It Ralph. Ralph is going to get a 9 out of 10 in PvP viability. Really solid character. He has the ability to kill anybody in one hit. He's great for nuking down princess teams. The way his kit works is beautiful, so I'm going to go ahead and spoil it and say he'll get a 9 for future proofing as well. If there's any PvE game modes that's not the raid, and there's a ton of helpful effects on the other side, Ralph is going to be the guy to take in. But my gosh, his raid numbers are atrocious. My friends, Ralph is going to get a 2 out of 10 in the raid. One of the worst characters within the raid for a legendary standard. He's going to get a 2 out of 10 because he can't get you much more than 100,000 damage. And looking at the value of characters, there's a lot of downtown hero characters. Calhoun is pretty amazing. Glitch is fun, but overall, the entire Wreck-It Ralph faction is not great without a leadership. And most of all, you have to invest in them, I believe, at gear 8 and get 2 maxed out spells. That is a whole lot to unlock a character that you're not going to be using even in the primary game modes. I love Ralph, I really do, but when you look at him compared to all the other legendaries in the time that he came out, he's going to get an overall 24 out of 40 because of his raid viability. He's going to tie Baymax, and that's really amazing because he got a 2 on the raids, but the PvP and future proofing is what's going to save his overall kit. Now, the last character that was released and the last character on today's video is the evil mistress herself. It's going to be Maleficent. Now, as far as PvP and Maleficent as a character, extremely amazing across the board. I'm going to save you guys time and say she gets a 10 out of 10 in PvP. Heck, she gets a 10 out of 10 in the raids. But with the recent arrival of Ian being amazing, she's kind of in between. This is a weird one. We're going to give her an 8 and a 10. Like, if you don't have Ian, she's a 10. If you do, she's an 8. She's somewhere in between there. Probably settle on a 9. But then we got to take a look at the value of characters. You're going to need Mrs. Potts, like we talked about before, and all of these are at T8. Robin Hood, who's pretty good as a plug-in character. You're going to need Mulan. You're going to need Kronk. Sorcerer Mickey, who should get a refresh, but right now is absolutely terrible. You're going to have Yzma. You're going to have people like Gaston that's rough across the edges. Maleficent, the main deal with her is you need 10 characters you need to invest in, all at T8. Even if they're not terrible characters, that's a lot of resources for one legendary. The Cozy Club, because of the sheer amount of resources, we're going to give her a 6 out of 10 for the value of characters. And then, of course, her future proofing is 10 out of 10 with a great kit that's going to complement the villains in the future. Zeus is going to rise and a villain is going to meet him. Maleficent should be involved in there for the most part. So if you do the math, that puts Maleficent at a 35. And now we can look at the total rankings of overall how great are the legendary characters. We're going to be ranking top of the top Elsa and Hercules with a 2-way tie at 36 overall points. If you're early game, I would go Elsa. If you're later game, I'd probably lean towards Hercules. After that, you're going to have Maleficent at 35 total points. Amazing characters. If you're a Mega Whale, definitely the character I would go after first. And then you have the Beast with a total of 34 points. Definitely hurting a little bit in the value of characters that you need, but you're getting one of the best PvP characters. followed by Mickey Mouse with a staggering 12-point drop-off at 26 points, Ralph at 24, and Baymax at 24. I'd probably lean towards Ralph or Baymax. It's tough to say who's at the bottom, but they're both not stellar. I'd probably lean towards Baymax as the requirements aren't too heavy. So there you have it, Cozy Club. Elsa remains at the top of overall with these categories, top of the list of a great character, along with Hercules, my friends. Hopefully this helps your farming journey and who to farm, who to spend those hard-earned resources on. Guys, just like the tower characters, I wanted to make a video that's going to help you guys out in the long run and throughout your DSA journey. If you liked this video that took a lot of research, like today's video, and if you haven't, guys, just take a second and click that red subscribe button. It helps a ton. Join one of our amazing communities, and until next time, my friends, stay cozy.